Tractate Shevuot, page 26. We start from the top of the page. We need to have some introduction for today's daf. In the 13 principles of Rabbi Ishmael, which we recite every morning in the Psukei de Zimra, in the preliminary service, we have an important principle which we explained in the past, particularly if you remember when we study page 4. It's called Klal ufrat uchlal, meaning you have a pasuk, you have a sentence, and you have a general statement, then there is a specification, and then again we have general statement. So the text said, we treated ke'ein haklal, meaning, for example, if it's a money that involve with a dishonesty, or money that was somehow not kosher or not or stolen, or someone is robbed, etc. So we dealing with the general terms, which is obviously the general principle of prohibition, but then we go to the specification. So sometimes involved in a state, sometimes in those days it's involved with avadim and shtarot, a servants, a documentation. We have also another important principle that it's called mi'ut, ribui ve'mi'ut. So it happens from time to time that the Torah pronounces a law by employing a combination of generalization or general and specific statement. So the Torah might first state the law in general, and then we have this expensive way of general statement, and then they state a specific and restricted application of the law. Now, the issue is, sometimes it's klal ufrat uklal, sometimes is mi'ut ribuy mi'ut, which is the Torah may repeat the general, the expensive statement, and there is a Tanaic dispute regarding the proper methodology for expounding such combination of general and specific statement. The best known is Rabbi Ishmael principle, which is klal ufrat, the generalization and specification, as we mentioned earlier, which tends to view the specific statement following the generalization as the definition of the broader statement. Here is the other part. The lesser known method is that of ribuy umi'ut, amplification and limitation, which takes the specification to be less restrictive. It does not define the scope of the initial generalization, but merely limits or restrains it to some degree. So this dispute, whether this the specific statement is viewed as specification or as a limitation, affect how the law is expounded, where the Torah concludes with a closing generalization, as we said, klal ufrat uklal, or ribuy mi'ut ve'ribuy. According to the klal ufrat method, since the specification defines the scope of the law, the closing generalization serves to expand that definition to include all things similar to the specification. Thus, we read in the Braita of Rabbi Ishmael, which prefaces the Sifra, and is recited during, as we said, each morning prayer, and we said a generalization, a specification. In generalization, you may include only things similar to the specification. But when it's come to ribuy mi'ut method, however, the primary legal statement was the initial ribuy, which is the amplification, which was simply restrained somewhat by the subsequent mi'ut, by the limitation, to be limited to all things similar to the mi'ut. So accordingly, the closing ribui mi'ut ribui, amplification serves to expand the scope of the law even further to encompasses even things dissimilar to the mi'ut, to the limitation. The only thing left excluded by the mi'ut then are the things most dissimilar to it as determined by the Torah sages. You see it in Gemara and Kiddushin, Kaf Aleph Amud Bet 21b. You see it in Chulin, page 67, and you see Meiri to Sanhedrin 46. So here you see the idea of the Braita of Rabbi Ishmael, that which records the derivations that result from the hermeneutic rule of Klal Ufrat Uklal, Prat Uklal, and Klal Ufrat Uklal, subscribes to the first Tanaic view state, as we said, and the other view would substitute the rule of ribui mi'ut veribui, mi'ut veribui. Now, the verse concerning the oath of utterances, as we discussed yesterday, is an example of the law that the Torah stated in general in the Vayikra in Leviticus chapter 5 verse 4. You see the general, then specific, then general terms. The Pasuk said, O nefesh ki tishava levate bisfatayim, le'ara o le'etiv, lechol asher yevate ha'adam bishvuah. Or if a person swears by uttering with his lips to do bad or to do good, anything that a person might utter in an oath. If a person swears, is a general statement encompassing any type of oath. To do bad or to do good is a specific statement, referring only to future oath that harm or benefit. And then anything that a person might utter in the oath is again a general statement encompassing any type of oath. So here we have our upcoming Gemara that tell us that Rabbi Akiva applies the variable offering, the Korban Olev Yored, to all four cases of oath, of utterances, because he is a proponent of the Ribui V'mi'ut method. Thus, the opening Ribui is restrained by the Mi'ut to apply to all future oaths, since all future oaths are similar to the specific example of to do bad or to do good. The final Ribui then comes and expands the scope of the law to encompasses all oaths, past or future, except for the most remotely dissimilar, namely an oath concerning a matter about which one is already obligated. So Rabbi Ishmael, however, applies to variable offering only to the first two cases of oath of utterance, those pertaining to the future, because he is proponent of the Klal Ufrat method. Thus, the result of general specific general progression is Iyatadan ela ke'ein prat. You may include only things similar, Rashi said, to the specification, in this case, only future oath. So here we are. Basically, the difference is, if you go by the ribui mi'ut veribui, you basically merabeh hakol, you do everything. Chutz mima shechazal, excluding what the sages said, so rak shtarot lo avadim. Anyway, so here we talk about the concept of korban shvuah, which is chayavim rak al lehaba. In general, you have the offering for oath of utterance applies only the future, not im nishba leshavar, if he took oath for something that happened in the past, achalti, lo achalti, as we learn as today, nishba lasheket b'meizid, so you have a korban, but if it's beshogeg, if it was unintentional, then it's nothing. Now we should note that when it's come to asham b'mezid, if it's a misuse intentionally, So you do have it in Shvuat HaPikadon. Anyway, let's go to our Gemara. We said we are on page 26, top of the page. The Mishnah tells us, Rabbi Ishmael Omer, אינו חייב אלא על העתיד לבוא. Rabbi Ishmael said that the person is liable meaning to bring that sacrificial offering only for unintentionally violating the shvuah of the oath of utterances that applies to the future. Rabbi Akiva hold that one is obligated to bring an offering for swearing falsely about the past as well. Tanu Rabbanan. Now we zoom in the Torah portion that dealing with Korban or Levi Yored, which is a variable offering. We explained several times. A rich person can bring expensive offering, poor person bring the minimum. But anyway, Tanu Rabbanan, here you see the words of Rabbi Ishmael Rabbi Akiva. The Torah tells us in the book of Vayikra, chapter 5, verse 4, Lehara or leitiv, to do bad or to do good. אין לי אלא דברים שיש בהן הרעה והטבה. Here we talk about matter involving to doing something that is bad or something is good. For example, someone take an oath, I will not eat. Not eating, it's a negative, right? Or he take an oath, lehitiv, I will eat. We generally talk about normal person, not obese, etc. Just a normal person, right? So I said, a person needs to bring an offering if it was shvuat sheker, if it was a false oath, right? However, if someone take an oath over things that she'ein bahen hara'a v'atava, something that have neither bad nor good. For example, as we studied yesterday, ezrok tzror layam, I take a pebble and I throw it to the water, right, to the ocean. And he violated his commitment over that future actions. Minayin, how do you know that he is obligated to bring an offering? Talmud lomar, the pasuk said at the beginning, O nefesh ki tishava levate bisfatayim. And the Vilna Gaon said that it's not here, but it's the end of the pasuk. The end of the pasuk is lechol asher yevate, which means the pasuk implies that one is liable under all circumstances, meaning even when the oath of utterance involves an inconsequential act. Meaning any bitui sfatayim, any utterance he needs to bring korban, makes no difference, even it's not involved bad or good. Ainly lehaba. All this applies, lehara or leitiv, bad or good, applies to a future. Leshe'avar, if someone said something in all that applies to something that happened before, like achalti, lo achalti, zarakti, lo zarakti, etc. Minayin, how do you know that he needs to bring a sacrificial offering? Talmud lomar, lechol asher yevate ha'adam bishvuah. Anything that a person will express in an oath, which is even for falsely swearing about a matter that pertains to the past. Even. And who said that? Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva hold it. Rabbi Ishmael Omer, Rabbi Ishmael disputed and said, Lehara or leitiv, the meaning of the pasuk of the verse that said to do bad or to do good, lehaba. All of that obligation applies solely if a person make an oath that applies to a future event, not past. Amar lo Rabbi Akiva, this dialogue, Rabbi Akiva said to Rabbi Ishmael, Im ken, if you go by the way they express the pasuk, lehara or leitiv, to do bad or to do good, and therefore only he is chayav, he is liable for the shvuah lehaba, for future oath, אין לי אלא דברים שיש בהן הטבה והרע. That applies that a person make an oath only over a thing that it has a either positive or negative. For example, someone take an oath that he will eat or that he will not eat. But someone who take an oath that applies to future event, דברים שאין בהן הרעה והטבה מנין. How do you know that when it's come to things that have neither matter of bad or good, that he needs to bring an offering if he violate his oath? אמר לו, Rabbi Shmuel said to Rabbi Akiva, I derive this from where? מריבוי הכתוב, from a scriptural inclusion. Why? Because they said, לכל אשר יבטא האדם בשבועה. אמר לו, Rabbi Akiva said to him, אם ריבה כתוב לכך. So someone take an oath over things that have neither bad nor good, ריבה הכתוב לכך. That someone take an oath over past. That we derive לכל אשר יבטא, that applies also that he is חייב, that he is liable, also over oath that applies to the past. So the Gemara challenged and said, Shapir ka'amar le Rabbi Akiva le Rabbi Yishmael. Rabbi Akiva spoke very eloquently to Rabbi Yishmael. So how come Rabbi Yishmael respond to Rabbi Akiva in kind of argument? Because what's the really reason of Rabbi Yishmael, logical reasoning, that he is not applies to the past oath from the statement of the Torah that said lechol asher yevate, whatever the expression come out of a person's mouth. So Rabbi Yochanan comes in and he extrapolates and explains the reason of the disputation between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva. Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yishmael sheshimesh et Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. Rabbi Yishmael was a student, an assistant of Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana. The Gemara in Tractate Chagiga we study on page 12a tells us that Rabbi Akiva served Nachum Ish Gamzo for a period of 22 years. So, שהיה דורש את כל התורה כולה בכלל ופרט. As we said in our introduction, he, Rabbi Nechunya ben Hakana, some said, by the way, that he was the author of Ana Bechoach, that he is the author of Kabbalistic books. It's a big disputation among scholars and rabbis if he was the author. But anyway, Ana Bechoach, other things. Who expound the entire Torah with the words of generalization and specification, the klal ufrat. Iuna medaresh, Rabbi Yishmael also expound the Torah bichlal ufrat. Rabbi Akiva sheshimesh et Nachum Ish Gamzo, Rabbi Akiva who served or attend Nachum Ish Gamzu, and we all know the story, Gamzu letova, that said anything that happened to a person, core of emunah, of faith, is all for good. Shaya doresh et kol ha-Torah kula beriba u'mi'et. That's a very important, you see it in the entire Shas, that Nachum Ish Gamzo, his teacher, he expound the entire Torah with the exegesis rule of amplification and limitations, ribuy u'mi'ut. Ihuname, Rabbi Akiva follow his teacher, and he also doresh riba u'mi'et. He expounded the Torah with the rule of amplification and limitation. So now the Gemara elaborates on this. My Rabbi Akiva the Darish ribuy u'mi'ot. What do you mean by saying that Rabbi Akiva expound amplifications and limitations? The Tanya, we learn in the Braita. Or nefesh, the Torah said, or if a person, kiti shava, will swear. Riba, here the Torah amplified, which is for any type of utterance, of oath, of utterance, is implied. Lehara or leitiv, to do bad or to do good. The Torah here limited to this type of oath. לכל אשר יבטא האדם, whatever a person will express, חזר וריבה, Torah again was amplified, ריבה ומיעט וריבה ריבה הכל. The Torah has amplified and limited and amplified. It has included virtually everything. My riba, what is included? Riba kol miloi. It included virtually every type of oath of utterance. Umay mi'et, and what has excluded? Mi'et devar mitzvah. So mi'et var mitzvah excluded oath involving a mitzvah. Mitzvah, for example, someone take an oath eating matzah on the Leila Seder, right? So he make an oath for something that it's impossible, right? It's a mitzvah. So that's here the ribui mi'ut veribui. Rabbi Ishmael Darish klal ufrat. Rabbi Ishmael expounds our pasuk with the rule of generalization and specification as follows. O nefesh ki tishava levate besfatayim. Or if a person swears by uttering with his lips, klal, just a generalization, which is any type of oath of utterance you have in this statement. Then the Torah said, lehara leitiv, to do bad or to do good. Prat, that's specification, which is the scope of the general law. Lechol asher yevate adam, for anything a person will express, chazar vechalal. Here you have back the Torah, have generalization. Klal, ufrat, uchlal, as we explained in our Hagdama in introduction, generalization, specifications, and then again generalization. I atadan ela ke'eina prat. You cannot derive anything other than what is similar to the specification. Ma prat meforash lehaba. Of kol, just as the specification is specifically an oath pertaining to the future, so too all oath for which one bring an offering must pertain to the future. So the Gemara asks a question. Ahanei klala, the last generalization functions la'atuye afilu dvarim she'en b'hem hara'a v'atava lehaba, to include oaths pertaining to the future, even if they are neither harmful nor beneficial. Ahane prata, the specification functions, afilu dvarim sheyesh b'hem hara'a v'atava leshavar, to exclude oath that applies to the past, even if they pretend to think harmful or beneficial. So the Gemara said, Eipuch ana. Why should we not say just the other way around? That the less principle merabe shvuah leshavar, that brings an oath for the past, and the prat and the specification memaed dvarim she'en b'hem hara'a v'atava, that they have things that have neither harmful nor beneficial, even those concerning the future. Omar Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Yitzchak explained that's applied, the generalization applied to this type of oath, that dumyad la'ara uleitiv, which is comparable to a specification to do bad or to do good, which indicates a future act or restraint. Mishum de isuro mishum mishi isuro mishum bal yachel dvaro. The Torah tells us in the book of Bamidbar, chapter 30, you shall not profane your word, the future type of oath that had expressions of the upcoming event, that he can fulfill his oath, and he is prohibited to profane, to violate his commitment. For example, the oath of to do bad or to do good. יצאתה זאת, past oath, שאין איסורו משום ביחל דברו, אלא משום בל תשקרו. That its prohibition is not by the account he shall not profane his word, but the account that was prohibited for a person to lie, because the Torah said in Leviticus 19, "Velo teshakru," should not lie. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Ravin explained differently. Rabbi Yitzchak bar Ravin אמר קרא או נפש כי תשבע לבטל בשבועה, מי שהשבועה קודמת לביטוי. So whoever the שבועה, the expressions, the oath precedes his expression, which is the action referred to his expression is subject to this law. That's the way Ritva explained. ולא, but not, שהביטוי קודמת לשבועה, that the expression precedes his oath, יצא זה אכלתי ולא אכלתי, we exclude I ate or I did not eat, שהמעשה קודם לשבועה, for the action referred to the expression precedes his oath. Now, Tosfot, it's important to note, you have here Tosfot, I just want to give a second for that important Tosfot. It's just, if you can please turn to page Kafhei 25, the very bottom. Did you ever heard Ezra Navi in Tosfot? It's fascinating. Hiksha Rav Rabbi Ezra Navi, very bottom of 25. דהשת רב דדלריש, ריבוי ומיעוטי בהגוזל כמה, סבר כרב מאיר דאמר אומרים בעבדים, הרי שלך לפניך דין גזלים כמקרקעי. ומאן דאיתלה דעבדים כמקרקעי דריש כללי ופרטי, וכמוכר לכלם פרק שבועת וגדול וגוזל בתרא. ויש לומר דאיתלה שום מיעוט במעט עבדים כפריש ליה בכפרק כמה. So while the Gemara brings the pasuk on nefesh kiti shava, the Gemara brings another drashot. So that's basically in the sources Torat Kohanim, Tanu Rabanan. Ha'adam bishvu'ah, person will express in an oath. So you have here a juxtaposition between person and oath, implying that to incur liability to the oath taker must be a complete quote-unquote person when he swears. Rashi explained it, Milunil explained. Anyway, תנו רבנן, האדם בשבועה פרט לאנוס, someone who is accidentally swore falsely, ונעלם פרט למזיד, but he still received מלכודם, here he said, ממנו שנתעלמה ממנו שבועה, יכול שנתעלמה ממנו חפץ, או שנתעלם ממנו חפץ, it may be that there's an oath concealed from him at the time of his transgression. תלמוד לומר, בשבועה ונעלם, על העלם שבועה הוא חייב, ואינו חייב על העלם חפץ. He's liable for concealment of his oath, but he's not liable for concealment of an article. So this is possible. So either Rimigash said it because it's honest, that's the Meir in the Rambam, and others said that it's the chiyuv of the Torah, but if the article disappeared, there's no chiyuv. So they remain potur because of the honest. That's the case of Mishteh. Anyway, Omar Mar, we learn the Braita, Ha'adam bishvuah prat le'anus. Person who express in oath, that's an exclusion to someone who is unavoidably swore falsely. Hey Chedame, give me an example. Kidravuna v'ravasi, ki avu kaimim mikamei de Rav. Mar amar shvuat ha'da'achi amar Rav, Omar amar shvuat ha'da'achi amar Rav. Ki atu lekamei de Rav. They come before Rav to see who is right. Amar kechad minayu. He said, like one of them. Omar le Idach, the other said, V'ana b'shikra yishtabai. I make a false oath. Amar le libach ansach. He said, you know what? You hard is your mind forced you to swear, which is you are not liable because you swore only because you mistakenly believe that you are correct. That's the way Rashi, Rabbeinu Chanelol, that you intend to say the truth. Remind me of a famous joke. You know most probably that story, joke. It's a husband and wife, he's a rabbi. Then people are fighting, so they come to his office. He says, I can't hear you screaming, you guys leave the room. So he left and he heard what the first guy said and said, you were right. And he asked him to leave from different direction. Second one came in. He said, whatever the first one tells you, it's not true. He said, you're right. So he left too. So then the Rebbetzin asked, how come you tell both parties that disputed each other that both are true? And he looked at her and he said, Rebbetzin, you're also right. So, again, libach anaschach, honest b'shvua. You thought, anyway, ונעלם ממנו, שנתעלם. It says it was concealed from him, which means שנתעלם ממנו שבועה, that the oath taken bring an offering for an oath that concealed from him. יכול שנתעלם ממנו חפץ, it may apply to an article that concealed from him. תלמוד לומר בשבועה ונעלם ממנו. על העלם שבועה הוא חייב ואינו חייב על העלם חפץ. So the Gemara said, מחכו עלי במערבה. Mean, מערבה it's Israel, it's the west of Babylon, so they kind of mock this ruling. Why? בישלמה שבועה משכחת לה בלא חפץ. If you tell me העלם שבועה, that you have an instant, that you have a concealed oath, without a concealed article. Here's an example. כגון דאמר שבועה שלא אוכל פת חיטין. The person said, I take an oath that I'll not eat wheat bread. וכסבור שאוכל. The person, don't ask me why, but he thought the other way. He meant to eat. Kama. So here we remember we talked yesterday about Hefza and Gavra. Here the Shvuata Inche. For here he forgot the form of his oath, whether it was affirmative or negative. But Hefza Dakir. But he remembered the article concerning which he had sworn. So the shvua, the oath that he should not eat, he forgot. The chefetz, the pat chitin, he remember. So what do you have here? You have a helem shvua, concealing of oath, without helem chefetz. So he's chayev, he's liable. Ela chefetz belo shvua, where you have a case of a concealed article without making an oath. So then he put a korban, that he is exempt from giving an offering. Heichidami. Give me an example. כגון דאמר, שבועה שלא אוכל פת חיטים, וכסבור של שעורים כמה. So he take an oath, and he said, I swear that an oath that I will not eat wheat bread. Okay? He thought, let's say nowadays, the packaging, or whatever it is, that he meant to say barley bread. Okay? דשבועתי דחיר לי, כסבור של סורים, כשבועתי דחיר לי, חפצה אינשי. So here remember the form of his oath, but forgot the article concerning which he had sworn. כיוון דחפצה אינשלו, because he forgot what? The article. Forgot the article that taken oath on. Hainu elem shvua. That's basically the form of concealment of oath. Why? Because he hold that he didn't take an oath of a chitin, grain. Only he thought that he's doing that for what? For barley. So the essence of his oath, he totally forget that he's not eating his expression, right? He is patchitin. So therefore, this is concealment of oath, elem shvuah. So the Ramban and the Ritva hold that is both. Is elem chefetz and also elem shvuah. So if you have both, right? If you have both, when you have a situation that you have one and not two, only elem chefetz and not elem shvuah, only the article but not concealment of oath. So therefore the Gemara rejected Rabbi Lazar's view in the bright end, said, Elo amar Rabbi Lazar, da veda chad hi. He said it's all one. You can find concealment of article without concealment of oath. So this bright is not a Mishnah, and the way the Rashi explained, it's a mistake, it's error. Ramban and Ritva have a different approach. We'll go by Rashi. Matkiv la Rav Yosef. He challenged what Bnei Marava said and what Rabbi Lazar said. Lama chefetz belo shvuah lo mashkachat la. Why you tell me that you cannot have the concealment of article without the concealment of oath? V'ha mashkachat la de'amar kigon de'amar. Here is an example of that. Shvuah shelo ochal patchitin. I swear an oath that I will not eat a wheat bread. Ve'oshit yado lesal litol patzorim, and he put his hand to a basket to collect what? Barley. Ve'alta biyado shel chitin, that he pulled out by mistake what? The other one, the chitin, wheat bread. Ve'chas savur shel seorim. He mistakenly think that his what is barley. Ve'achala. So he is in violation of his oath that he should not eat what? What? Chitin, right? Wheat bread. So you have the shvu'atei dachirlei. Chefza udelo yadalei. He remember his oath. His oath is what? Not to eat, not to eat concealment of oath, right? Not to eat, not to eat what? Wheat bread, right? But the chefetz, which means when he put it out, he didn't pay attention, whatever it is, he was talking, he was thinking, whatever it is, he didn't there. So you have he'elem chefetz, you have concealment of what? Of article, without concealment of an oath. So if that's the case, what's the question of Bnei Marava? Mitzpeh Hitan asked a question. He said, if that's the case, that's basically the form we learned in Shabbat, the mitasek, right? So mitasek, even in other type of violation, is exempt from bringing an offering. So why the reason we free him from liability, and we said is elem chefetz, the concealment of article. So you read the Mitzpeh and the answer. You see also Rabbi Akiva Iger. He said that the whole exemption all of mitasek, it's only over sins. The Torah referred to a permanent sin offering, but when it's come to a variable offering, then even mitasek is liable. Anyway. Omar le Abaye. Abaye rejected the answer of Rav Yosef, and he said, Klum mechayvat le korban, ela amai detafis beyadei. You are obligating him to bring an offering only for what which he held in his hand and ate. Elem Shvuah. Even this instance is what? Is a case of concealment of an oath. For an oath taker did not realize that his oath forbade him to eat that particular loaf. Another option, Lishnachridna, Omar le'abai le'Rav Yosef, Rabbi said to Rav Yosef, Sof, sof, korban dekamaite alei. Say, eventually the offering he bring alei the high pat for its loaf that in fact he ate mihat he'elem shvuah. Right? That loaf is nonetheless case of concealment of an oath. As we said earlier. It's just the signon of Abaye, it's not really a big difference. So the Gemara explained what Rav Yosef said. Why is concealment of oath? The Rav Yosef amar lach, kevan dechiyadale dechitinu leparish minei. Because a person knows clearly in his head that his concealment is over what? Wheat bread. So therefore, because of this oath, he should kind of make a pre-shoot, he will stay away from that. What happened in reality was helem chefetzu. That is concealment of article without concealment of oath. It's just because his mistake when he put his hand and took it. So it means the oath himself, he remember, he did not violate his oath. The action of pulling out that bread, which he thought is barley and it was wheat, that was the reason. Why? The Ritva explained so beautifully. The Ritva said, let's say if somebody was standing there and he knew that that fellow make an early commitment. Thank you. So he stand there and he said to him, hey, Moishale, right? Yankale, listen. You remember you took an oath. I remember you took an oath not to eat a wheat bread. Right? Or he said to him, just be aware that this is a wheat bread. Even not remember him, mention him his oath. Right? So obviously, we hold that he will stay away because he remembered that he took an oath. Let's say even his friend doesn't know, but he just referred to him that this is a wheat bread. He will stay away from that. Think reality. You go to a store sometimes with your spouse, with friends, of others, and something the doctor does not allow you to eat, right? Whatever it is, gluten-free or whatever it is. And you're about to pick up a product and you don't pay attention in full. You bring it home, you realize that it's the wrong product, you cannot eat it. Or you have someone who said, you know, this product contains nuts, contains something that, right? So you right away bring it back to the shelf. You don't touch it, right? Beautiful touch of the Ritva. Anyway, this predicament, this quandary of Rava in regards to concealment of article, that he is basically exempt from the oath offering, right? Be'amine Rava mirav Nachman. He'elem ze veze biyado mao. Meaning the concealment for him is both the oath and the article. Which means he take an oath that he will not eat a wheat bread, right? And he's forget about it. For example, he thought that he make an oath that she'ochal, that I will eat. So you have a concealment of oath, and he pulled out what? Wheat bread. So he thought that this is what? Barley. So you have also concealment of what? Of article. That's the way the Rimigash explained. So the question is that he needs to bring Korban Shvuah, the offering of oath or not. Omar lei, Rav Nachman said to Rava, Harei elem Shvuah biyado v'chayev. Said this is a concealment of an oath on his part, and therefore is obligated to bring an offering. So forgetting the article is not the cause of the liability. The liability for forgetting the oath is not nullified by the concurrent forgetting of the article. Aderabi, the other way around. Harei elem chefetz biyado patur. Here you have what? Concealment of article in his part, so therefore he is exempt. So the Gemara explained, if you remember we studied it on page 19a, that Rabbah contends that even had the oath taken to recall his oath, he will have eaten since he was unaware that the bread was made of wheat. So it's the whole argument is that this transgression, at least in part, happened because of concealment of the article. So he should not be liable. So Rav Ashi have a different pshat. He said, Omar Rav Ashi chazinan. Let's examine, we observe. If the reason that person stay away from eating that bread, it's because it's concealment of oath, which means when someone tell him, oh, remember that you took an oath not to eat wheat bread? Someone, and he did not complete, for example, eating that loaf. So here you have a concealment of his what? His oath, and he is obligated to bring an offering. He ate because he forgot about it. That's the way Tosfot 19 and the Ritva explained. If the reason that he is abstaining, it's because what? He was informed of the true nature of the article. So this concealment of the article in his part, so he's exempt. Why? Because it's not a wheat bread. Ravina rejected Rav Ashi's view. Amar leRavina leRav Ashi, klum parish mishvua ela mishum chefetz. He abstained when he informed the nature of the article only because it was also become aware of the oath. Otherwise, he will not realize that he is in violation of the oath. Klum parish mechefetz ela mishum shvua ela lo shna. You don't have a differentiation between the two incidences, and therefore it's a combination of both concealment of an article and concealment of an oath. So since it's both, so Rashi explained, he exempt from bringing the korban. Torat Chaim have a malach here that it said it's honest. Anyway, another question. Since we have this notion of ptura adam bishvua, prat leanus, be'aminei Rava me Rav Nachman. Rava challenge asked Rav Nachman. As we all know, Rav Nachman was one of the permanent dayanim in the Talmudic era. 26b. The Gemara asked here, Rava me Rav Nachman, ezo yishigigat shvuat bitui l'she'avar. When it's come to chiyuv korban, they come to the obligation to bring an offering, give me a situation that it was unintentional violation of an oath of utterance, shvuat bitui, but applies to past event. That's what Rashi said in the Braita. We learn v'ne'elma mimenu prat lemeizid. Vayikra 5:4. So the yada, if he knew at the time of taking an oath that this is a lie, he taken false oath, meizidu. Meizidu is deliberate violated. So he is exempt from bringing the korban. That's the whole v'ne'ela mimeno, Rashi said. Ve'id lo yada. If he's not, so that's an accident, anusu. Anus, exempt from korban. That's ha'adam bishvua, excluded accidental. So give me an example of an oath לשעבר that applies over the past make him obligated. The Meiri expanded and he said, give me an incident that can happen. Rav Nachman explained to Rabbi and he said, Be'omer, if someone said at the time of making an oath, Yodea ani sheshvu'a zu asura. You have a case of liability when a person's oath pertaining to a past, where one says, when he knowingly swear falsely, I know that swearing this oath is prohibited. Aval ni yodea, but I do not know, im chayavim alea korban im lav. Not sure. The Rambam in Hilchot Shevuot, chapter 1, hold, let's say a person know that that's Shevuat shekel. It's untruth oath. But somehow it's hard to comprehend, but he wasn't aware that it's prohibited. So Rashi in Tractate Shabbat, page 69a, 69b, דיבור המתחיל אבל איני יודע. He said, אם לא ידע ששבועת שקר אסורה, ראו אנוס. If he was not aware that false oath is prohibited, so he's a form of accidental, and he's exempt from korban. So therefore the view also the Rambam hold, the Rav Nachman needs to bring a situation that he knew the issue of Shevuat Sheker, he knew the prohibition of taking a false oath, but he doesn't know that Chayav Korban on that. The Ritva over there in Tractate Shabbat 69 have a big expansion on this sugya. So the Gemara showed Keman, which shita, which view of Nachman's hold? If you tell me Kemun Baz, the Amar, that's the Gemara in Shabbat 68, B and 69, Shigegat Korban, Shma Shgaga, that error concerning one's obligation to bring an offering is considered inadvertence. So, therefore, even he knew that that's prohibited, since it was shgaga, it was unintentional, so he doesn't know that it's a chiyuv korban, that one needs to bring an offering for that. So it's considering some type of accidental, unintentional, and he needs to bring a korban. So it means that that's the view of Rav Nachman, because the sages who disputed munbaz, since he knew that this oath is prohibited, they treated as intentional, as meizid. So even though he makes shigaga and chiyuv korban, it's not considering shigaga, so therefore exempt from korban. So you have to say that the view, the shita of Rav Nachman, matched the view of whom? Of munbaz. So the Gemara rejected that and said, Afilu teima rabbanon. Even you tell me that you follow the view of what? That the sages hold disputed munbaz and hold that shigat korban is not shgaga. עד כאן לא פליגי רבנן על ידי מונבז, אלא בכל התורה דלאו חידושו. So far the sages argue with munbaz only regarding chatat obligations found elsewhere in the entire Torah. דלאו חידושו, that the liability is not a chidush, is not a new ruling. It's not a chidush miyuchad, a special ruling in the chiyuv korban. So therefore, we need to have a total shogeg gamur, total accidental, total unintentional, versus shigat korban is not shigaga. Aval lacha, when you have a variable offering, korban or levi yored, when it's come to Shevuot bitui, the chidushu, דבכל התורה כולה לא אשכחן לאו דמייטה קורבן. We don't find in any place this isur lav that he needs to bring korban. דיאלפינן מעבודה זרה. ואח המייטה, and here in שבועת ביטוי, bring korban for the love that doesn't have a karet, since it's a special chidush. אפילו רבנן מודו. Even the sages, what? Concede that one must ruling an offering if he deliberately swore falsely, but was unaware of an obligation to bring an offering. באמינה רבינה מרובה. נשבע על כיכר ומסתכן עליה. If one swore not to eat a loaf of bread, and subsequently he became in danger by not eating it. Take, for example, cases of people who are sick, right? And they have certain obligation to eat certain food. And now what happened? He forgot his oath and he ate. Mao, does he need to bring only the verbal offering or not? So his Rabbi said, what? Mistaken? If the person become dangerous, you should permit him to eat. It's saving life. It's pikuach nefesh. Pikuach nefesh, you know, we learn in Yoma 85b. The Torah tells us in Vayikra Yudchet, Leviticus 18, Pasuk 5, Ushmartem et chukotai vet mushpatai, you should observe my law and my ordinances. Asher ya'aseh otam ha'adam, v'chai b'hem. Famous Gemara also you see in Bava Metzia, v'chai b'hem v'lo she'amud b'hem. We should leave the Torah, it's chaimi, it's life, it's not death. So you should, even lechatchila, you're allowed to eat. So obviously he is exempt from bringing a korban, Rashi said. So Ravina explained, obviously I'm not talking about severe case of saving life in dangerous person. Ela mitzta'er. So Rashi explained that if he's not eating that loaf, he have great sorrow. Ve'achala b'shigegat shvuah. So he ate it what? Unmindful of the oath, he ate it. What's the law? Is the oath taker obligated to bring an offering? So is the Rambam and the Raavad and Kuntre Sarayot Leriyaz, Meiri. Big discussion. What exactly happened in the person's kavana. But anyway, Omar le Rava said to Ravina Tanina, Shav b'idiato. So if a person really all of a sudden aware of what's going on, meaning he's totally refrained from transgressing as a result of his knowledge that the act is forbidden. So, mevi korban al shigegato. He needs to bring offering for his shigega, unwitting transgression. Lo sham yadiato. If one will not refrain from transgressing as a result of his knowledge that the act is forbidden, ein mevi korban al shigegato. Is not considering a shogeg, unwitting, and he doesn't need to bring a korban. But the Torah said in Vayikra, chapter 4, verse 22, Asher lo te'asena b'shgaga ve'ashem. So here, since he ate this loaf, even if he did not forget his oath, so it means he's not shav midiato, and he doesn't need to bring a korban. That's the way Rashi said. Omar Shmuel. So Shmuel said, Gamar belibo, if one resolved in his mind to swear, tzarich sheyotzi bisfatav, he must utter the oath with his lips, otherwise his resolve is not a binding oath. Shene'emar, levate bisfatayim. When it's come to Shevuah in Vayikra chapter 5 verse 4, they said it has to be uttering with his lips. So the Torah implies that to be valid an oath must be pronounced. So here you see a difference between kavanat halev, something that person have in his heart, versus expression that comes out of his mouth. Meitivei, bisfatayim velo belev, with his lip, which implies no that must be uttered aloud and not merely formulated in his mind. Gamar belibo minayin, from where we know that if one observe in his mind to swear, Talmud lomar, we learn lechol asher yevate adam bishvuah, for anything that a person will express in an oath. Lechol, meaning even if it's in his heart. It reminds me, one time I asked a friend, close friend, the whole concept of, you see in Chabad, they have a very interesting minhag, that when they say Aleinu Leshabeach, so they, shehem mishtachavim lahevel v'larik, there is a phrase that sometimes is in parentheses, and some of them spit a tiny bit. So he showed me in a Yom Yom, and he showed me in other sources, that the moment you say this line in your mouth, shehem mishtachavim lahebel v'larik u'npalim, that all day this idol worshipping, they bow down to nonsense. So the moment you utter that, that secretion, that rock, it's already unhealthy in your mouth. So you need to spell it out. I thought it's fascinating. But anyway, I also saw it in Hayom Yom, what it was, the early Tevet of this year. Anyway, מייתי ובשפתיים ולא בלב, גמר בליבו, מנין תלמוד לומר לכל אשר יבטא אדם בשבוע. הגוף הקשיא, אמרת בשפתיים ולא בלב, אמרת גמר בליבו מנין. You see here the difference between something that is come to expression word versus in mind. אומר רב ששת give a תירוץ, explain Halakha, it's not the question, אחי כמה. בשפתיים, when it's the oath is valid if it's pronounced with his lips. ולא שגמר בליבו להוציא בשפתיו ולהוציא. And it's not valid when it's resolved in his mind to utter an oath with his lips. ולא הוציא. And he did not utter it. So the Rimigash, you see it also in Rashi, said he meant to have it as a form of oath, and only then he put it out of his mouth. Gamar belibo stam, just general gmiut heart. And he didn't meant to put it out of his mouth, only his machshava, only his thinking, minayin. How do you know that they have chalot shvuah? Talmud lomar lechol asher yevate. It reminds me in Balatanya, explain in Tanya that the difference between machshava, dibur, and maaseh, it is three different categories. In Chassidut, you have nefesh, ruach, neshama, chaya, yechida, and you have this big difference between machshava balev and maaseh before, that thinking in your heart or in mind, and action. So here, lechol asher yevate, ela l'shmuel kashya. Shmuel said that Shvuah balev, that oath that you make in your heart, it's not effective. So the Braita said that it's effective. Tosfot said that is kipshuta, and it's only the reason they do it, it's because they want to be brief. Omar Rav Sheshet Taritz ve'ima achi. אומר רב ששת הריץ ועמך בשפתיים ולא גמר בליבו להוציא פת חיטין והוציא פת צורין. גמר בליבו להוציא פת חיטין והוציא פת סתם. מניין? תלמוד לומר לכל אשר יבטא האדם. But שבועה, oath is not ever halot on ביטוי שפתיים, and that's follow the view of Shmuel. So the Gemara in Kiddushin 49b have a big מהלך, דברים שבלב ונאמר דברים. Thing that you think in your heart, you can't take it as far as the law. So they hold that's only if his thought contradict what he have in his heart. But that's what said, when it's not, the machshava is the same as is in his heart, the thought is the same as in his heart, so you go even after machshava. But then is a machloket rishonim, you see the second tirus in the Tosfot, you see it's in Iran and Ritva, when he can circumscribe his oath, the person that utter in his mouth, how far you go with that. It's several explanations also in the Ramban and the Rosh. Meitivei, that's a well-known statement. The Torah tells us in the book of Dvarim, Deuteronomy chapter 23, verse 24, Motza sfatecha tishmor ve'asita. You shall observe and perform the utterance of your lips. Ein li ela shehotzi bisfatav. Here I have only teaching that one must fulfill a neder that he uttered with his lips. Gamar belibo minayin. But if it's in his mind, how do you know? Not pronounced. Talmud lomar, when it's come to Nedvat HaMishkan in Shemot in Exodus 35, Torah said, Kol nediv lev, everyone whose mind motivated him. So it means that afilu nedava balev, even a gift that you have in your heart, you have to fulfill. You have the obligation.